Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, we are going to be talking all about the Avoidant PMDD partner. This should be my specialty because I get avoidant and become an avoidant PMDD partner every single time that I go into PMDD like clockwork. So I can really relate to this so much. And I know a lot of my listeners and private clients, their partner is the one that gets avoidant. But for me, it happens every single month. I feel it coming on. And I just want to let you know, being aware of the shift in your attachment style doesn't mean that you're not going to go into that particular attachment style. What that means is just because I know that I have an avoidant attachment style doesn't mean that I can avoid being avoidant when I go into PMDD. Because when I'm in my avoidant states, it is a really big shift to go from a secure attachment style when I'm not in PMDD and to go into an avoidant attachment style. Because when I have that secure attachment style, I'm so loving towards my partner, who is very loving. He is very affectionate, very loving, and we're very open with words of affirmation. We're very open with affection. We're very touchy-feely. All of those things really come natural to us. And when I become avoidant, that is why it has done so much damage in my PMDD relationship, because it's so big of a shift. Like, how do you go from hugging and holding hands and kissing and touching to completely not wanting to be touched, completely shutting down, pulling away when my partner comes close to me, cringing when he touched me? Like, there were so many things that once I began to do the work and really notice what it is that I was doing, I was so shocked, but I also couldn't stop doing it, because when I went into PMDD, I felt emotionally detached. I felt like all of the lovey-dovey feelings were gone, all of the remorse for his feelings. If I said something or I've done something to offend him, if I'm in my secure attachment style, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean that. Like, so sorry. When I'm in my avoidance state, I don't care that I hurt his feelings. And I think that is the biggest indicator for me that I'm in my avoidant attachment style when I go into PMDD. It's because even if I know that I hurt his feelings, my PMDD partner's feelings, I don't feel bad about it. I feel like they should be responsible for their own emotions. It's this very independent mindset. I'm like, you should be able to manage your emotions. You're a big boy, like, you're an adult, like, manage your emotions. It's not on me. Don't put your emotional baggage on me. Don't expect me to carry your needs, your desires, your wants, all of these things. And the ego is so big when I'm in that avoidant state. I mean, it's almost like I feel superior to my PMDD partner, whereas he is still in that secure attachment style, but he transitions into the anxious attachment style. When I start getting really avoidant, he'll transition into the anxious attachment style. But let me tell you how it happens. So we'll go from being in a secure attachment style where, as you know, me and my partner both travel a lot for work. So a lot of our communication is via FaceTime, text, phone conversations, all of the things. And when I get into my avoidance state, I get really vague. I don't want to give him details. I feel really independent. I start to resent the fact that we're in a long distance marriage, even though it's something that we agreed to. I start to think he should be doing more. I literally will think to myself, and this happens every single month, when he's calling and he's texting me like he normally does on a day-to-day basis, and I'll think to myself, well, if you really wanted to be with me, we wouldn't be long distance, and you would do what it takes to be with me. And it's like I'm completely disregarding the fact that we agreed to be in a long distance marriage because we have all of our career goals and stuff like that. But I get really independent. I feel like I could do everything by myself. He starts to offer suggestions for things, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want anything to do with him, his input. He completely becomes a burden. And when I'm suffering in PMDD, instead of me wanting to lean on him, I want to push him away. I want to criticize him. I want to judge the person that he is. I get very judgmental, very critical. I judge every little thing. I judge his actions, his inactions, things that I would never do when PMDD is not there and I'm in that secure attachment style. I do. And I feel completely justified in it. So I want to let you know, sometimes when you're in that avoidance state, it's so convincing because you can place the things that you're being avoidant about to actual facts about your partner. Like if you feel like they should be working on themselves in a certain area, like say if you feel like they should be working on their emotional intelligence, you'll start to judge them on that. Or if you feel like they should be working on their physical health, you'll judge them on that. And I just have no room for humanity. I don't think like, oh, he can't do that because of this. Like, I don't make excuses. I'm very, matter of factly. Yeah, very matter of fact. Like because the emotions are gone. So all I really rely on is facts. So what I want to tell you about avoidant attachment styles, they're extremely independent. And they're very uncomfortable with intimacy. They don't want to be close to you. They start to think that intimacy and closeness is a weakness. They're kind of commitment phobes in a sense of feeling like, I don't need to depend on that other person. I can do it myself. So I used to be a very, 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 before I met my PMDD partner, I used to be a very independent woman, a very independent person. I did everything by myself. And I remember thinking, if I want to be with someone when I was single, I was like, if I'm going to be with someone, I'm going to be with someone who can bring me something that I can't bring to myself. Because I got that independent where if I wanted flowers, I bought myself flowers. It's kind of like that Miley Cyrus song that's out, like, I can buy myself flowers, like that song. Don't make me sing because I'm completely stopped up. I'm sick right now. But that's how I felt. I felt like I can pay my own way. I can pay my own bills. I can go on vacations. I can do all these things. So I wanted someone that can bring me something that I couldn't bring myself, that I couldn't give myself. And when I met my PMDD partner, I was in my follicular days. Therefore, I was able to build a secure attachment and see the value that he brought into my life. When I first met my PMDD partner, he was on vacation and I was having a good time. He was having a good time. And we had so many similarities. And I just felt like, wow, we have so much fun together. We have our lives together. We have our careers together. Like we have our finances together. Like I'm not going to have to, support him. He's not going to have to support me. We were basically two independent people. We had gone years from broken relationships and just, worked on ourselves. So when I decided to be with him, I decided that what he could bring to me was a partner in all of the amazing things that I was already doing with my life. And I felt like he wasn't going to take away from any of the amazing things that I was doing. He wasn't going to try to put me in a box. He was actually going to support what I was doing and enhance it. Because I remember I had dated before, and so many people that I dated, when they heard about all of the things that I was doing, they started to want to put me in a box like, oh, you're doing too much. You should settle down. Like, don't travel as much, you know, kind of controlling my finances. You should spend your money on this. Like, I never wanted someone to control what I was already doing because I had spent so much time working on my goals and what I was doing that I just wanted someone to support it. And when I met my PMDD partner, he did that. He was like, I think what you're doing is amazing. He wasn't trying to change it. He wasn't trying to criticize it. He wasn't trying to tweak it to like meet his goals, his dreams. He was just supporting me, admiring me. And then when I started to look at him, I thought the same thing about him. So I was like, oh, this is a good fit. This is a perfect fit. Fast forward when PMDD came and I kind of went into my hole. When I say went into my hole, meaning I started doing my own thing. I started doing activities and not wanting to include him. Like I felt like I'm going to the grocery store or I'm going here or I'm going to go on vacation. Like, why do you need to come? Why do you have to come to everything? Like he became a burden. When PMDD came and I was just trying to deal with my symptoms the way I had done before as a single person, and he was still wanting to do those things that he had done with me when we were in a secure attachment, meaning we would do so many things together and have fun. I was like, no, like, and then I began to think, why can't you find something up? Well, I didn't think I told him when I was in PMDD range, like a couple times. I was like, why can't you find a hobby? Why don't you find something to do for yourself? Completely rude, completely mean, because we were spending all of our time together. And that's when I noticed that attachment styles really, really had a lot to do with PMDD, because I began to notice that when I got into PMDD, I felt like I didn't need him, and I felt like I didn't want him. And I knew that me not needing him and wanting him hurt his feelings, but I didn't feel bad about it. And that's not the type of person I am. When PMDD is not there, I'm completely loving to everyone. But I noticed that I was getting really avoidant. This I knew that it wasn't exclusive to my PMDD partner. I was getting really avoidant with my best friend, Angie. Like, she would call me and I would all of a sudden, like, we talk every single morning, like clockwork. She wakes up, she lives on like 2 hours ahead of me, and she wakes up a little bit later because she's retired. So it kind of works out because I wake up early, but because of the time difference, we talk every morning, and I begin to look at her calls and ignore her calls and be like, oh, she's always calling me, and getting really annoyed when that's been her thing for years. But when PMDD came, I just wanted to be by myself. When I tell you I use my do not disturb like it's nobody's business, it's almost like you have to remind me to take my phone off of do not disturb when I'm in PMDD, because I will keep it on do not disturb, like, and it'll be silence. Like, if you try to text me and my phone is on do not disturb, it'll be like, deliver this message quietly. And I could keep my phone on do not disturb for 2 weeks straight and be completely fine. Because when I'm in that avoidant state, everybody seems like a burden. And I would say the only people that I could really handle, ironically, is my daughter and my dog. My daughter, because she's 13 right now, and she's in that puberty teen stage where she's wanting her own space anyway. So whenever she communicates with me, it's in small spurts. Like, she'll like check in with me, and then she'll go back to her room, talk to her friends, do her homework, draw. Like, she has her own life that she lives in the house. My dog is the same way. He's not a clingy dog. He's actually, like, right now, he's sitting at the foot of our bed, and he won't be up on me, because you know how when you go into PMDD, how you have that, like, you don't want to be touched a lot of times. Like, I never have that issue with my dog because he never wants to cuddle me. He just wants to be at the foot of the bed and know that I'm there. So I don't know if you have a PMDD pet, but like some are really clingy and loud and whatever. Mine is not like that. He's very quiet. You wouldn't even know. He's pretty much like a cat. Like, you wouldn't even know he's there, but he's just there for comfort. And so so think about this. So my daughter's doing her own thing, my dog is doing his own thing, and then my partner is coming in loud, loving, affectionate, touchy-feely, and my immediate reaction is, whoa, back up. You're doing too much. Like, it's in the rejection that I would feel would be so hurtful and evident, because I would start to think, wow, if my PMDD partner wasn't here, if it was just me, my daughter, and my dog, I would be fine. And I would want to watch Netflix alone. We have upstairs, downstairs. I would want to just be alone, like watching TV, because I'm not the type of person where you watch movies and shows and you want to talk about everything during, like, that's my time to decompress. And so he would be talking, like I would put on a show and he would come in and just be talking even though the show is on. And so for me, that's like not a thing. I'm like, what is he talking about or he'll talk about the show. It's like certain things that I would like wake up in the morning and I would want to have quiet time. Like, I'm not a person, I'm a morning person in the sense that I'll wake up early, but I don't really want to talk until I'm finished with my morning routine. And he immediately gets up in the morning and wants to talk. He's like, good morning, babe. And then he wants to tell me all the things that are on his mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, make it stop. Like, it's so annoying in the moment that I'm just like, why are we doing this? Why am I subjected to this? And so he became like a burden. And I remember so many arguments we would have, and I would call him clingy and needy and wishing that he just hung out with friends. But my PMDD partner is the type that he would rather hang out with me than hang out with his friends. And I know for so many years, I like prayed for someone like this. I'm like, I want someone that like wants to be with me, because I remember, dating in the past and having to compete with friends and all these things. So when I get into PMDD, I'm like, go with your friends, go do this, go do that, go to work, like go do all the things, because I just want to be alone. And with the avoidant attachment style, they regularly complain about feeling crowded or suffocated when your PMDD partner tries to get close to you. So you often get the mindset that your PMDD partner is trying to control you or box you in. When you get in that avoidant state and your PMDD partner is leaning into you and wanting to spend time to you, you can all of a sudden start to think that they're controlling. You can be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go do this. You want to know everything that I'm doing. Why do you want to know? Or why are you trying to be in my space? You're trying to control me. You don't want me to have any time for myself. You want everything to be about you. You can begin to call them selfish. You can begin to think that they're trying to box you in. And in every relationship with a partner, you have an exit strategy. Always. Avoidance always make their lifestyle around having a way out. And for me, it was, if you disturb my peace, then like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, I can't, and my peace meant my time alone. Like, I have my morning routine. I need sleep. There's certain points of the day that are like non-negotiables. So my morning routine, and again, I've talked about it a lot, but it takes like 60 to 90 minutes in the morning. It includes walking my dog. Like, I want to walk my dog alone, even though, if you follow me on Instagram, that is when I talk to all of my PMDD partners on Instagram, at In Love with PMDD. If you don't follow me, In Love with PMDD on Instagram. I literally document my journey every day. I spend 2 to 3 hours a day talking to PMDD partners, helping them out, giving them advice, connecting with them. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me there. I do that. I move my body in some way. Over the years, it's been like different things depending on how I feel. I sit in my sauna that I got, which is freaking amazing. I don't really journal in the morning. I have a PMDD Partners journal that you'll hear about in a few. But I don't use that. I'm not a morning journaler because journaling kind of turns me down. So I do that in the evening time. But then I also just take a shower. I listen to music. I literally have a playlist from the time that I wake up for the whole morning routine. And it's based off of how I'm feeling. So I don't want to be disturbed because that's my way of rewiring my brain, especially when I'm in PMDD. I have to rewire my brain. And I'll do a whole nother episode on that. But it's like so many times when I'm in PMDD, I wake up evil. I literally wake up feeling evil. And that is when my avoidant attachment style is most prevalent, because if you try to talk to me and I'm trying to rewire my brain and get out of this evil mindset, like good luck for you. And he's done this before, and I've literally gone off on PMDD rage because I'm like, I just need my space. Like I remember one time I was trying to walk my dog like I normally would, and my partner, he got into his anxious attachment style, and he was really trying to connect with me. And I told him the same thing I told him every day, like I'm gonna go walk the dog. And so I went to walk him, and I'm like about to start, talking to you all on Instagram and blah, blah, or just catching my breath. And he comes up behind me and he starts coming outside, and he's like walking behind me. I'm like, what are you doing? Like I literally was so on edge. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I was going to walk with you. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I don't never take a walk with you in the morning. I was going to walk. And I literally went off. I'm like, no, I don't want to walk with you. I want to have my morning routine. Like, what are you doing? And he got so offended and he went inside. And this is what I mean about the avoidant attachment style. I didn't even feel bad about the fact that he had went inside, and I knew that I hurt his feelings and I saw the hurt on his face. I was like, yeah, go inside. Like I did not feel any amount of remorse until I came out of PMDD, and that's a whole nother episode. But in the moment, I was like, yeah, go away. Like shoot, like a fly, like shoo, because I was trying to have my morning routine. And so what I want to tell you is that the avoidant PMDD partner is very selfish. I can be really selfish when I'm in my avoidant attachment style, to the point that it's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about my suffering. It's all about digging me out of my suffering. It's all about me. And if you're not about me in the process of me being about me, then like you're the problem. And I, even with my friend that I told you, that I was just like, why is she always calling me in the morning? Blah, blah, blah. Or I will call, like, I'll call her and she won't answer the phone because she'll like be in the shower or something, and then she'll call me back, and I would like purposely not answer her call. And I'd be like, if you really wanted to talk to me, you would have answered the phone the first time. Like, how petty was I being? But I just felt the ego, and I felt the independence, and I felt like I'm superior. It's the superior mentality. When you have an avoidant attachment style, you don't care about losing people. That's the scariest part. When you're an avoidant attachment style, you don't care if you lose your PMDD partner. Meaning if your PMDD partner told you, you always do this to me. You don't care about me. You don't love me. You don't pay attention to me. I'm going to leave. If you're in your avoidance stage, you'll be like, okay, if that's what you want to do what you want to do. I'm not going to hold you here. Like, I'm not going to force you to be with me. If you're choosing not to be with me, you can go. And your PMDD partner will be sitting there like, what? Because for me, when I'm in my follicular phase, when I'm in my good days, I would never say that. Meaning, if my PMDD partner said to me, you don't love me, you don't care about me, I would be like, yes, I do. I do love you. I care about you. I really would, like, I would go into the mode of reinforcing how I really felt about them. But when I'm in that avoidant attachment style, I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. They're so needy. You're about to leave. Like you're so insecure, right? Because you'll be quick to call your partner, your PMDD partner, insecure. even though you being avoidant is making them insecure. You'll be pointing out that with them and being like, look at them, like I can't. And then you'll begin to think, I cannot support your insecurities. I can't allow your baggage of not being secure in the relationship to impact me and how I'm feeling and my mood. Like that's the mindset that you will be in when you're in that avoidant state. You literally won't care if your PMDD partner breaks up with you. You'll be like, oh, well, maybe it was meant to be. Guess we weren't meant to be together. Like if you could just walk away from me after all this, then I guess, and then your PMDD partner will be like, well, no, I wasn't going to walk away from you. Like sometimes I know my PMDD partner does this. He would say things and do things to get my attention, to try to get me to show some sign of compassion by being really dramatic, walking out of a room, saying he was going to leave, saying, you don't love me. You don't love me, wanting me to say, yes, I do love you. And I would be like, okay, if that's how you feel. If you feel like I don't love you, then why are you with me? How many times have I said that? I've literally been like, if you're telling me that I don't love you, I don't care about you, then why are you even with me? Who would be with someone that they feel like doesn't care about them and love them? And this will literally drive my PMDD partner crazy to where he gets overly anxious because he feels like she doesn't care about losing me. And so avoidant attachment styles, this is research-based because, I'm doing my dissertation on attachment styles as well and PMDD partners. Avoidant styles uniquely scored really, really high on surveys as far as self-confidence, meaning they think really highly of themselves when they're in that avoidant state. And they scored extremely low on emotional expressiveness and warmth, compassion, love. They scored really low because that's not what they're feeling. They really feel like their partner is far less than they are. And they, on the surveys, they scored low on being caregivers and, providers and stuff like that. Like they were just worried about themselves. They literally avoidant attachment styles because I become one and I have to really reel myself back in because when I get into that avoidant attachment style, I only care about myself. And what I want to tell you, which is a very important fact that I want you to understand in your PMDD relationship, especially with avoidant attachment styles. It is a very, very sad fact that PMDD relationships, tend to be controlled by the PMDD partner who cares the least. Meaning, if I care the least, my PMDD partner is going to overwork himself, overcompensate to get the love that he wants from me. Because I'm the one that's giving him the least amount of effort, he's going to work even harder for it. He was going to lean in harder for it. So by you being avoidant, you're making your PMDD partner lean in, work even harder, and you're essentially controlling the relationship because the relationship cannot be a relationship if you're not emotionally open. And if you're the one that's not emotionally open, your PMDD partner's job at that point is to try to get you to be open. So they're working on overboard and they're, what can I do for you? What do you want from me? All these things. And you're like, nothing. So that means the avoidant attached PMDD partner is controlling the relationship. They are in control. We are in control. And we're always the one willing to leave. We are always the ones willing to leave. If you even breathe anything close to leaving to an avoidant PMDD partner, we're out the door. Like that's why my partner can't even, I'll say it all the time and be like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving, blah, blah. And my anxious PMDD partner will practically beg me to stay. And then we'll end up fine. We'll end up together because, we'll just be fine. Let my PMDD partner tell me something about leaving. I'll be like, okay, go, fine, good. We shouldn't be together. And he's completely shocked. So I want to give you an example. I want to give you an example of an avoidant PMDD partner, so you can really see what it looks like. We'll call the PMDD partner, because I love my sister's Alexa. We'll call her Alexa. Alexa works 80 hours a week, has a child, has a dog, and gets really, really annoyed, really, really avoidant when she's stressed out. When she's stressed out and PMDD comes, she shuts down. She prefers to keep to herself when she's around, even when she's around her PMDD partner. She doesn't talk to her PMDD partner about her feelings or what's really stressing her out. She just continues to act different. But when her partner asks her what's wrong, she says nothing. She doesn't give her PMDD partner a chance to let her down, because when her PMDD partner asks her, what can I do to help you? What do you need me to do? She's like, nothing. Nothing. And then when she gets really upset and stressed out, overwhelmed with PMDD, she doesn't want to be around her PMDD partner. She doesn't want to be affectionate with her PMDD. If her PMDD partner tries to hug her, she doesn't want to hug him or her. She doesn't want to hug her partner. And most importantly, she wouldn't care if her PMDD partner broke up with her. This is the most prevalent because I remember watching my PMDD partner when the time that he walked out a couple months ago. And we had gotten into, he was really upset because he was trying to ask me for affection. He had came upstairs, he had texted me because I guess he was really frustrated because I was being really, really avoidant. And then he had texted me like, hey, a little bit later, can we cuddle and just watch a show and whatever, whatever, whatever. And I basically was like, no. I basically was like, no, like why I said, you haven't been affectionate with me this whole time. Why would you want to be affectionate with me now? Basically, I was shutting him down. And he came upstairs and was like, you don't want me here. And then I was sitting on my bed and I could see my window was open, and he literally called an Uber and like went home. And I could have, of course, I could have gone downstairs. Of course, I could have gone to like stop him from leaving. Did I do it? No, because I was in my avoidance stage. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it's not meant to be. I started looking at so many quotes on social media saying how, if someone walks out, what did they say? Like if they walk out on you, it's not meant to be. All of these things. And I convinced myself that because my PMDD partner had walked out on me, we weren't supposed to be together. When in reality, my PMDD partner walked out on me because I was being avoidant and I completely was shutting down, and he wasn't getting any love, affection, attention, validation, anything. And it seemed like I didn't want him there. And what I also did, I told this story in my mind of like, I convinced myself. And I even talked to my best friend, Angie, and tried to convince her. It never really works with her because I think I've done it so many times and I'm so avoidant every PMDD cycle that she just doesn't buy anything that I'm saying. But I felt like I was close this time. I'm like, no, he walked out on me. Like he left and, blah, blah, blah. So he must not want to be with me. Anybody that can walk out on me doesn't want to be with me. Like I was telling myself a story. And then I started to paint a picture in my mind of, what my life should be like, because we weren't supposed to be together. And I went into that phase of wanting to be single, because avoidant attachment styles, like they'll tend to think that's the best way of getting rid of the PMDD partner, and they're the problem. And you are so convinced in the moment that that's the right thing to do, that you feel like the best thing to do is to not be with your PMDD partner. And it's so hard to get yourself out of that while, like, I actually know when I'm in PMDD, I'm just going to be avoidant. I don't even try to fight it anymore. I remember I used to try to make myself not be avoidant. It's more so of I'm more aware of it. I am more aware of it because I know that I'm potentially going to do things that's going to try to distance and hurt my partner. And the things that I can do to protect my PMDD partner is the first thing that I'm going to give you a PMDD trauma transformational tool on how to not cure your avoidant attachment style. Remember, I don't do cures over here. I'm not a genie. I'm not creating any magic. I'm giving you tools to work through it. So if you don't want to damage your PMDD partner by being avoidant, the first thing to do is to recognize that you're being avoidant. It took me a long time to just admit that this was a pattern of mine. The second step is to not blame your PMDD partner for you being avoidant. Stop saying that they are the problem. Stop saying that I'm only avoidant because they're so needy. That was my scapegoat. I was like, if they weren't so needy, I wouldn't be so avoidant. No, that's not true. I would have been avoidant because remember, I was avoidant with my friend too. I was avoidant towards my friend who is definitely not needy. She was just doing the normal things that we normally do. So yeah, she's not needy, clingy, but I was blaming that on everybody that was leaning into me and just being normal. So that's the mindfulness access. The mindfulness part of it is just recognizing when you're being avoidant. Catch yourself. When you're about to say or do things when you go into PMDD, I expect it. Like when I go into PMDD, I'm like, oh, I'm about to be avoidant. And when I am, instead of trying to fight it, I do actions that are the opposite. So I'll give you a perfect example. When my PMDD partner tries to text me, when he texts me, like he normally does all the time, if I'm in my avoidance stage, sometimes I'll immediately click off. It's almost like a trigger, like a sting I feel when I see the message. I'm like, and I don't immediately respond. When I'm in that avoidance stage and I don't want to hurt my PMDD partner and I'm trying to not do damage, I force myself to respond to the text message immediately. Because I know that the only reason I'm not responding to the text message is because I'm in that avoidance state. He hasn't done anything. The text messages that my partner sends me are quite magical and loving. They're just like, I love you. I adore you. Have a good day. I miss you. Like he's not burdening me. But in my avoidant state of mind, it can appear like a burden. But I have to force myself and I have to remind myself, no, he just loves me and wants my attention right now. Or he just loves me, I have to tell myself the truth of it because I will begin to tell myself a lie. He's not clingy. He's not needy. The next thing is I wrote a letter one time when I was being really, really avoidant. And then I felt like I was going to lose my partner. And I think I've talked about this in a previous episode. I wrote a letter and I keep it in my room. And I put it on top of our marriage. I framed our marriage license and then I put the letter on top of it. So it's like half marriage license, half the letter. And it is the letter that I wrote to myself about my PMDD partner. And one day I'll read it. It's literally on my dresser. But I'll read it. But basically, it was reminding me of how much I genuinely love my PMDD partner, want them around. Because when I'm in that avoidance stage, I don't feel like that. I can't see myself being like that. I feel like he's a burden. And so I just remind myself, my PMDD partner loves me. He wants to be with me. He just wants the best for me. He doesn't want to take anything from me. You have to get rid of that fear. That's the next tool. You have to get rid of whatever you're telling yourself that your PMDD partner is trying to take from you. You have to really go deep and convince yourself they're not trying to take this from me. Because you can convince yourself when you're in that avoidance stage, they're trying to take my space, they're trying to take my peace. So peace is one of the things that I value the most in my life. And I will always compute my partner, my PMDD partner, trying to take my peace. And when I do that, I immediately because any other person that tries to take my peace, you're gone, goodbye. So when I notice that I'm putting my PMDD partner in that category, I have to immediately take him out of there and be like, no, he's not trying to take my peace. Because if I let that sink in my brain that he's trying to take my peace, I will get rid of him and not even feel bad about it. I will feel good about it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I needed to do to protect my peace. There's so many things in self-care, especially in social media, that tells you so many things that you can use when you're in your avoidance state. So I want you to be very careful about what you listen to, what you look at, the memes that you look at, the channels that you listen to, because they can convince you that when you're in that avoidance state, they are actually right. They'll make you feel like the intrusive thoughts that you're thinking about your PMDD partner, about them taking your peace, about them taking your joy, about you all not being compatible, about them, all of the things, they'll make you think that that's true. And I want to let you know that they're not, because the reason why I know that they're not is thank goodness for follicular phase. Thank goodness for my good days. Because when I'm in my good days, I immediately go back to loving my partner, thinking how amazing he is, feeling guilty about being avoidant if I was, but it doesn't stick. Now, if things stick, that's a completely different story. If you feel that way all month long, all day long, that, this is not the right person for you, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's address that. But if you're only thinking about it when you're suffering in PMDD, that means you're just avoidant when you're in PMDD. And so what that letter does for me is I have to remind myself of the good things about my PMDD partner. And when I do that, I get into a space of not being avoidant and snapping myself out of it almost. It's like, oh my goodness, I do love this person. I do value this relationship. I do want to be with them. But the avoidant attachment style, when you get into that mindset, it's really hard to convince yourself of that. And so what I want to let you know is just because you get into that avoidant attachment style with your PMDD partner doesn't mean that what you're thinking is true. It doesn't mean that you should act on it. That's been my biggest takeaway is I cannot act on how avoidant I am feeling in my PMDD relationship. I can know that I'm going to get into that state and I need to act the opposite. So sometimes, even if I don't feel like it, I'll be loving. It's my JBL method. I've mentioned it a lot. I use it with my private clients a lot. JBL method, just be loving. Doesn't matter if I feel like being loving, because guess what? When I come out of PMDD, it's naturally going to come to me and I'm going to just be loving. But when I'm in that avoidance state, I have to force myself, be very conscious and just do it. The reason why I have to do that is because that's what my PMDD partner deserves, so that I don't suffer when I come out of PMDD and I'm trying to be in that secure attachment state and my partner's looking at me like I'm crazy because I've neglected them the whole time. You cannot expect to neglect your partner for half the month and them to be okay with it every single month. If you're avoidant with them, if you're neglecting their emotional needs, if you're making them feel like they're a burden, if you're making them feel like they're clingy, all the things, you cannot expect for them to continuously meet your needs when PMDD is gone and you're ready to be loving. They're just supposed to sit on the sideline and wait for you to feel like it? No. Even when you don't feel like it, JBL, just be loving. And that is my mantra for the avoidant attached PMDD partners. Just be loving, because guess what? When you come out of PMDD, it's going to come natural and you're going to be glad that you didn't do any damage to your PMDD relationship. Do not listen to the intrusive thoughts. Do not listen to the ego. Do not listen to all those thoughts that are telling you you're not compatible with your PMDD partner. You don't need to be with them. Do not lean into those monthly PMDD partner breakups because you're in that avoidance stage. You're not going to be better off without them. Like, these are lies that you're telling yourself because you're in that avoidance state. Wait till you come out of PMDD, actually a couple of days after you come out of PMDD, not even immediately, and then see how you feel about your PMDD partner. And if you do need help with things outside of when you're in that avoidance state, then you can always contact me and we can navigate that. Go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, book a private PMDD partner session so you can work through whatever those things are that keep coming up for you when you get into that avoidant attachment style in your PMDD relationship so that you can do the least amount of damage, but most of all, stop the PMDD monthly breakups. We got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.